Hello guys! Yeah, so for this video, I will be discussing, ano na nga ba yung discuss ko? Endocrinology, okay? So this is just a simple discussion of endocrinology. I promise to make it very short, okay? Ayan. So for endocrinology, yes, again, I would recommend that you read Bishop, yes, in preparation for your board exam. Yes, because there were questions before which were directly lifted from Bishop. So I will be mentioning some examples. So that's why I am, when it comes to endocrinology, I am advising you to read Bishop, particularly if you're going to look at the chapter on organ assessments. Yeah, organ assessments. Na kay Bishop po yun. Okay, so yan. All right. So first, of course, let us discuss the basic things that you should know when it comes to endocrinology. So if you can still remember, yes, there are actually two systems which are involved in maintaining homeostasis inside the body, right? So first we have your nervous system, and then the other one, of course, is your endocrine system. So your nervous system works by, yes, producing electrical impulses which are transferred from one region to another via your neurons or your nerves. In contrast, when we talk about your endocrine system, so it makes use of your hormones in order to maintain homeostasis inside the body. And your hormones are produced by your endocrine glands. Recall question from the board exam, okay? Which of the following is not an endocrine gland? As simple as that, guys. Okay, so of course you should know how to, yes, you should know how to recognize what an endocrine gland is, okay? So not because it has the word gland in its name means it's already an endocrine gland. So remember, that there are two types of glands inside the body. We have your endocrine gland and your exocrine gland. So first, characterize what an exocrine gland is. So when we say exocrine gland, these are glands with ducts. Okay, or they have passageways in which their secretions are transported to a particular area of the body, right? So these secretions, they pass through your ducts. Okay, ayan. In contrast, when we talk about your endocrine glands, so these are referred to as your ductless glands. Okay, why ductless? Because they secrete, diba? Or they release their secretions into the bloodstream. They don't have their own ducts. Okay, yeah. So secretions in the form of your hormones are released through the circulation, and it is the circulation which will carry your hormones to their target areas or target glands or target tissues. Okay, yes. And then, of course, when you encounter this in the board exam, you should know how to identify which one is an endocrine gland, which one is an exocrine gland. So take note, exocrine glands would include your sweat glands, diba? It would include your sebaceous glands. Okay, these are examples of exocrine glands. Another would be your pancreas. Okay, so your pancreas as an exocrine gland will secrete enzymes of digestion. Okay, enzymes of digestion. All right, so say for example, in the question, it says there, amylase. Okay, amylase from pancreas. Endocrine, exocrine. Exocrine, because amylase is an enzyme of digestion. Okay, so please do not forget. Okay, another. When we talk about your endocrine glands naman, of course, classic examples would include your pituitary gland, right? We also have your adrenal gland. We also have what else? We also have our anong pangalan nito? Um, kidneys, okay, kidneys, they are also considered to be endocrine. They have an endocrine function because they release your erythropoietin or your EPO. What else pa ba? Pancreas is also considered to be an endocrine gland. Okay, so your pancreas, being an endocrine gland, is capable of releasing hormones which are necessary for glucose metabolism. Okay, so if, for example, in the question, it says there, hormones for glucose metabolism, then your pancreas function as an endocrine gland. Okay, yes. Baka mamaya, the Board of Examiners will try to confuse you. Okay, so please be careful. Okay, one of the board exam questions that was given, which the following is not an endocrine gland. The choices that were given were pituitary, adrenal, pancreas, and your sweat glands. Okay, so of course, it's very obvious that the correct answer is sweat glands. However, if sweat glands is not among the given choices, then pancreas can be an exocrine gland. Okay, remember that when you take your board exam, you cannot question the question and the choices. You just have to select the best. Okay, and pancreas can be best. All right, so yan. All right. So in addition to exocrine versus your endocrine, so we also have to review our knowledge on how, diba? On how the endocrine system works. Okay, how your endocrine system works? It works via two mechanisms. So we have your negative, I'm sure you have already discussed this before, negative feedback mechanism, and then the other one is your positive feedback mechanism. You know what, guys? If you understand the hierarchy, okay, hierarchy of hormones or of glands in your endocrine system, you will not get lost. Okay, yes. Okay, ayan. So first, negative feedback mechanism. So when we say negative feedback mechanism, first you have a stimulus, right? So you have a stimulus. This stimulus will, okay, of course, stimulate. Diba? Kaya nga siya stimulus. So it will stimulate the release of a particular hormone. And of course, this hormone is referred to as your releasing hormone. So releasing hormones are secreted by your hypothalamus. Okay, yeah. So secretion of your releasing hormone. And then after that, this releasing hormone will stimulate the release of your stimulating hormone. So your releasing hormone will go to your anterior pituitary gland. So ilagay lang natin. So this one, of course, this will come from your hypothalamus. Okay, in general to ha, your stimulating hormone will come from your anterior pituitary gland. Okay, so your stimulating hormone, so this will go to your target. Okay, to your target. So the target may be a tissue, it may be an entire organ. Okay, ayan. So once it goes to your target will now, of course, release the specific hormone. Okay, the specific hormone that is needed in order to bring back homeostasis inside the body. Okay, yeah. So remember that in the case of your endocrinology, a stimulus would always be a disruption. Diba? Kasi when we say homeostasis, it's a balance. Maintaining balance or equilibrium inside the body. Maintaining what is normal inside the body. And of course, if there is a disruption in this normalcy, diba? If there is a disruption in the normalcy or in the equilibrium inside your body, so this will be your stimulus. Okay, ayan. So, again, the reason why I mentioned in general because there are certain instances okay, when the gland itself contains receptors for this stimulus. And so you don't necessarily have to awaken, to awaken your hypothalamus to release your releasing hormones. So pwedeng yung stimulus, it will already be detected by the receptors which are present in that particular gland. A good example would be in the case of your calcium imbalance. Okay, in the case of your calcium imbalance, there are already receptors present in your parathyroid hormone which will detect this stimulus or this imbalance. Okay, ayan. And so, with that being said, your parathyroid hormone can already act on its own without the need for the action of your hypothalamus as well as your anterior pituitary gland. Okay, ayan. The reason why it is referred to as a negative feedback because, okay, because because if this specific hormone is already present in the circulation, okay, yes, of course, this specific hormone released by your target gland will cause an increase, diba? It will cause an increase in that particular hormone. And this increase now in the hormone will counteract your stimulus. Okay, yes, it will counteract your stimulus. And so, if your stimulus will no longer be there, then the secretion of your releasing hormone from your hypothalamus will already cease. Okay, or will already return back to normal. Okay, or will already be decreased. Tama? Yes. And this will cascade into your stimulating hormone. So if there is a decrease in the releasing hormone because the stimulus is no longer there, there would also be a concomitant decrease in your stimulating hormone. Okay, so this will also result to a decrease in the release of your specific hormone. Okay, negative feedback. An increase, diba? An increase in the hormone will cancel out, in short, kaya siya negative. Okay, will cancel out the release of your releasing hormone, stimulating hormone, or the hormone itself. Okay, yes. So that's why it's a negative feedback. Okay, so if the stimulus is decreased or is no longer there, then there will also be a decrease in the hormones. Okay, so negative feedback mechanism. In general, all of your hormones work by negative feedback. Okay, now let us go to your positive feedback. So in this case, what happens is that, of course, there is a stimulus, right? There is a stimulus. And then this will, ano pangalan nito? This will, your stimulus will stimulate, yes, will stimulate the release of a particular hormone. Okay, so this will stimulate the release of a hormone. Okay, release of a hormone. Tama? So what will this hormone do? Okay, so this hormone will now act on its target gland or target tissue. Tama? Its target gland or target tissue. Okay, what is supposed to happen? Diba? Upon the release of the hormone, Okay? It should be able to cancel out the stimulus. Tama ba? Tama. That is in the case of your negative feedback. However, in your positive feedback, okay, there is a stimulus. There is a release of a hormone. It goes to the target organ in the body. Okay? And then this target organ will, of course, will be stimulated by this hormone. So what happens is there is an increase in the stimulus. Instead of the stimulus going down, okay, yeah. I think you're already confused, guys. Okay, so let me give you a very good example. And mind you, this is the only hormone that works via positive feedback mechanism. Yeah, so that's why you don't really have to memorize. Okay, you just have to remember that only oxytocin is the hormone that works via positive feedback. Okay, what is the stimulus of your oxytocin? Stimulus is your uterine contraction. Diba? Uterine contraction that happens during giving birth. Okay, during birthing. Okay, during birthing. Ayan, so there is uterine contraction. Okay, uterine contraction. So this will stimulate the release of your oxytocin. So there will be an increase in your oxytocin. Tama? Okay. But the thing is, your oxytocin will promote further uterine contraction. Okay? It will further increase your uterine contraction. Okay? Yes. So it will further increase your uterine contraction. The more uterine contraction you have, the more oxytocin is released. Okay, ulitin ko ha. The more uterine contraction you have, the more oxytocin is released. Thus the term positive feedback. It reinforces the stimulus. It does not cancel out your stimulus, unlike in the case of your negative feedback. Okay, yes. A good example naman of your negative feedback that I can probably give, okay, would be in the case of your parathyroid hormone. Okay, ayan. So in the case of your parathyroid hormone, what is the stimulus? The stimulus is low blood. Diba? We have low blood calcium levels. Okay, so this is the stimulus. In the presence of low blood calcium level, what will happen? Your parathyroid hormone will be released. Okay, so there will be an increase in the secretion of your parathyroid hormone. What is the action of your parathyroid hormone? The action of your parathyroid hormone is to elevate. Okay, elevate blood calcium levels. Okay, so once your blood calcium levels return to normal, okay, once your blood calcium levels return to normal, so this will already be a negative, okay, this will already be a negative feedback to the release of your parathyroid hormone. So meaning, what will happen now to the concentration of your parathyroid hormone? It will decrease. Okay, thus the term negative feedback. So always remember this one, especially your negative feedback. Because if you know this, you would be able to correlate now. Okay, the release of your hormones, the abnormalities in the concentration of your hormones in the different diseases. Okay, ayan. So please do not forget. Okay. All right, so let us now go to sorry, the different hormones that are released by your hypothalamus. Okay, so guys and girls, tinatanong din nila, they ask, where is your gland located? Okay, so take note that your hypothalamus, this is located in the lower portion of your brain. So lower portion of the brain above the pituitary gland. okay, above your pituitary gland. Okay? And the function of your hypothalamus is to release, yes, to produce and release what we refer to as your hypophysiotropic hormones. So hypophysiotropic hormones, they are otherwise referred to as your releasing hormones. So whenever you see the term releasing hormones as given in the choices, so automatic it is produced by your hypothalamus. Okay, do not like, what again? Okay, no, you have a clue there. Okay, so you just look for letter R. For example, if for example, the choices are given in anong tawag natin sa mga acronyms, okay? If you see the acronym RH, so that means, okay, it is a releasing hormone, and all releasing hormones are produced and secreted by your hypothalamus. Okay, what are some examples of releasing hormones that are released or that are secreted by your hypothalamus? We have thyroid stimulating hormone, right? We have gonadotropin releasing hormone, diba? TRH will stimulate the secretion of your TSH, your thyroid stimulating hormone, and your prolactin. Katulad ng sinabi ko, releasing hormones will stimulate will go to your anterior pituitary gland and stimulate the release of your stimulating hormones by your anterior pituitary gland. Okay? Another, we also have your gonadotropin releasing hormone, and it stimulates the secretion of your luteinizing hormone and your follicle stimulating hormone, again, where anterior pituitary gland. Okay? Another, we also have your somatostatin. So in the case naman of your somatostatin, this is an inhibitory hormone. Okay? Inhibitory in the sense that it inhibits the secretion of your growth hormone as well as your TSH. Okay, another, we also have your corticotropin releasing hormone, which stimulates the secretion of your ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone. And then we also have your growth hormone releasing hormone, which stimulates the release of your growth hormone. Okay, so aside from your releasing hormones, take note that your hypothalamus, lagi din po nilang tinatanong to, they always ask this in the board exam. What gland produces ADH? Okay, or your antidiuretic hormone. Okay, what gland produces antidiuretic hormone? It is your hypothalamus. Okay, it is the one that produces your ADH. Take note that your ADH class, this is otherwise referred to as your arginine, vasopressin, okay, or vasopressin. Okay, yeah. So those are the other names of your ADH, arginine, vasopressin, or your vasopressin. Okay. All right. Remember that your ADH, it primarily works for water reabsorption. Okay, water reabsorption po yan. And take note also that your ADH, di ba? Water retention or water reabsorption. Okay, so what is the stimulus of your ADH? The stimulus of your ADH is hyperosmolar plasma. So if the osmolarity of your plasma increases, okay, di ba? If the osmolarity of your plasma increases, that means you need to have more of your solvent. So what solvent is present in your, what solvent is needed by your body? It's water. Diba? Because when we say hyperosmolar plasma, this indicates an increase in the concentration of your solutes. Particularly, we have sodium. Okay, so when you have an increase in your solutes, of course, there should be an increase of your solvent also. Thus, the stimulus for your ADH is hyperosmolar plasma. So the main target site of your ADH are your distal convoluted tubules as well as your collecting ducts. So in these regions of your nephron, more water will be reabsorbed in order to counteract the hyperosmolarity of your plasma. Okay, ayan. So another organ that is produced by your hypothalamus is your oxytocin. So again, oxytocin in women is important for uterine contractions, for birthing, during birthing, okay, and the ejection of milk during breastfeeding or lactation. Okay, in males, oxytocin is important in erection. Okay, so that's why, yes, that's why oxytocin, this is not only an important hormone for females, it is likewise important for males because it is the one which will promote erection or it aids in erection. Okay? Yeah, so those are the things for now that you have to remember for your hypothalamus. Okay, ayan. All right, another organ, important organ is your pituitary glands. Okay, your pituitary gland. Ayan. So take note that your pituitary gland contains two portions. So we have your anterior pituitary gland, and then the other one is your posterior pituitary gland. Which portion has a direct connection to your hypothalamus? It's your posterior pituitary gland. Okay, ayan. Your releasing hormones kasi, they still have to travel via the circulation. And then, via the circulation, it will reach your anterior pituitary gland. So that's how your releasing hormones are able to travel and reach your anterior pituitary gland. So take note that your anterior pituitary gland, this is otherwise referred to as your adenohypophysis. Okay, it is otherwise referred to as your adenohypophysis, and it is capable of secreting the following hormones. We have your ESH, your ACTH, so on and so forth. Yes, so we will be discussing them later on. Okay? So first, let us characterize muna. Yes, kasi bago ko makalimutan. Let us characterize the two hormones. I hope you don't mind if I am coughing. Okay, because I cannot. There are two types of hormones. Guys, tinanong nila to noong 2021. They asked this last 2021, so please do not forget. Okay, so we have two types of hormones released by your pituitary gland. So the first one are referred to as your tropic hormones. Tropic hormones are otherwise referred to as your stimulating hormones. Okay? So anong palatandaan natin whenever you see SH, if it's abbreviated, whenever you see SH, yan, so it means it is a stimulating hormone. Okay, ayan. Tropic hormones, take note, actions of your tropic hormones are specific, or actions specific for another endocrine gland. Okay, the actions are specific for another endocrine gland. Ayan. So that means, okay, they do not have a direct effect on the target organ. Their target organ is another endocrine gland. Okay, so that's their target. And when they go to that particular endocrine gland, your tropic or stimulating hormones will stimulate the release of another hormone. Okay, yeah. So those are our tropic hormones, or that is rather how we characterize your tropic hormones. What are tropic hormones released by your anterior pituitary gland? So this would include, of course, we have your TSH. Okay, your thyroid stimulating hormone, which acts on your thyroid gland to produce, di ba? To produce your thyroid hormones. Another is your ACTH, your adrenocorticotropic hormone, otherwise referred to as your adrenocorticotropin. Okay, ayan. So your adrenocorticotropic hormone will stimulate your adrenal glands to produce the different corticoid hormones that we have. Okay, yes. We have your, ano ba yung mga nandun? Cortisol, your aldosterone, okay, your, I forgot the other one, your cortisol, your aldosterone, mineral glucocorticoid. Okay, and yeah, okay, yung mga yun. Okay, your corticoid hormones. Okay, and then in addition to that, we also have your LH, your luteinizing hormone. So remember that your luteinizing hormone as well as your follicle stimulating hormone. So these are hormones that go to your sex glands, and they stimulate your sex glands to produce your estrogens, okay, as well as your androgens. Primarily, we have your testosterone. Okay, yan. So these are examples of tropic hormones or stimulating hormones. Another type of hormone that is produced by your anterior pituitary gland, we have what we refer to as your direct effectors. Okay, yes. You know, this was discussed by Bishop. Okay, so this is also the reason why I'm recommending Bishop. Okay, so direct effectors, they act directly. Yes, from the term itself, they act directly on your peripheral tissue. Okay, so that means their actions are not specific for another endocrine gland. So they will automatically go to the target tissue. Okay, ayan. So what are examples of direct effectors? So we have growth hormone, di ba? They directly go to their target target glands, so target organs or target tissues in order to promote growth. Okay, another, we also have your PRL or your prolactin. Your prolactin directly goes to its target tissue in order to stimulate milk production. Okay, yes, during lactation. So these are direct effector glands. Glands tuloy, direct effector hormones. Okay, ayan. And of course, in addition to your anterior pituitary gland, we also have your posterior pituitary gland, which is otherwise referred to as your neuro. Okay, hypophysis. Okay, yan. So your posterior pituitary gland, otherwise referred to as your neurohypophysis, is the one that has a direct connection to your hypothalamus. Why? Because your posterior pituitary gland is the one that stores and secretes the following hormones to your circulation. We have your ADH and oxytocin. Okay, yes, but please take note ha, your ADH and oxytocin are released, yes, are released or secreted by your posterior pituitary gland to the circulation, but it does not produce or synthesize these hormones. Okay, ayan, yes, because that's why you have to be careful. Yes, but you have to be careful in your quiz or in your exam, because I might indicate there hormone tuloy, gland that produces, di ba? Gland that produces oxytocin, hypothalamus. Gland that secretes oxytocin to the circulation, or gland that secretes oxytocin, posterior pituitary gland. Okay, so please, ayan, be careful ha. Yes. And then, ano pa bang sasabihin ko dito? Wala na. Okay. Okay, so yan, be careful lang. Aside from that question, another question that came out in the board exam would be about tropic hormones. Okay, the following are tropic hormones exempt. Or ang ilalagay lang nila doon, they would just indicate not a tropic hormone. Okay, so we have 4 only: TSH, ACTH, LH, and FSH. Your GH and prolactin, these are not tropic. Okay, another, regarded as the master gland is the correct answer, pituitary gland. Okay, wait, ma'am. Oh, diba? Even if it's not the highest in the hierarchy, because we know that the highest in the hierarchy of your endocrine system is your hypothalamus. It's your hypothalamus that is the highest in the hierarchy. Next is your pituitary gland. Okay, however, the term master gland, the term master gland, it was used to refer to your pituitary gland, historically speaking. Okay, it has the significance. Okay, the significance of the term master gland. Okay, it's only based on history. Okay, yes, so they used to refer to your pituitary gland as the master gland. Yes, but of course, with the advent of new discoveries, they were able to establish that there is a higher gland. Okay, there is a higher gland above. Yes, there is a higher gland above your pituitary gland, and that's your hypothalamus. Okay, pero pag tinanong, okay, if they ask this in the board exam, master gland, pituitary gland. Okay, you read it in Bishop if you have time, but you don't have time. So, okay lang. Okay, ayan. So, please do not forget, historical significance lang siya. Okay, it is not really the highest, the higher. All right, so next we have our thyroid gland. Okay, so they would usually ask a lot of questions from this portion, particularly because if you're going to look at the TOS, thyroid gland, what else? Your sex hormones, yung mga yan ang mga may part talaga. Adrenal hormones, adrenal gland hormones. Oh, I think those are the ones that were really specified in the TOS. Okay, ayan. Particularly thyroid and your sex. Okay, so take note that your thyroid gland produces 2 important hormones. Okay, 2 important hormones in order to maintain proper metabolism. Okay, yes. So, in your thyroid gland, yes, we have 2 cell populations, right? Yes, from your histology, as we have what we call your follicular cells. Your follicular cells, they are responsible in producing your thyroid hormones. So take note that your thyroid hormones, they are referred to, ayan, your thyroid hormones are referred to as your metabolic. Okay, they're referred to as your metabolic hormones, particularly because they are important in maintaining proper metabolism. So basal metabolism inside the body. Okay, yes. So if there is something wrong, therefore, in your thyroid hormones, there would also be something wrong in your metabolism. Okay, ayan. So, of course, thyroid hormones, they cannot travel alone in the circulation. And so there is a need for us to make use of your protein carriers for the transport of your thyroid hormones. Okay, so first we have your thyroid binding globulin, your TBG. So your TBG, this is considered to be the major protein carriers for your thyroid hormones. So specifically, they carry 70 to 75% of the total thyroid hormones that are being transported via the circulation. Okay, so another protein carrier for your thyroid hormones, we have your thyroxine binding pre-albumin. Okay, so your thyroxine binding pre-albumin, so it carries approximately 20% of the total thyroid hormones which are being transported via the circulation. Okay, another, we have your thyroid binding albumin, which carries the remaining 10% of the total thyroid hormones carried via the circulation. Okay, ayan. All right, guys. Yes, what is important? And yeah, all of these are important. Yes, but of course, it's better if you are able to understand hypothyroidism, yes, and hyperthyroidism. Okay, yes. Ganito class ha, always remember negative feedback mechanism. Okay, so yan, sige. Ilista natin. All right. So what are the different glands and hormones that are involved in your thyroid, abnormal thyroid states, or in the release of your thyroid hormone? So of course, we have your TRH. So remember that your TRH is released by your hypothalamus, right? It's released by your hypothalamus, and then after your TRH, okay, we have your TSH. Tama? After your TRH, we have your TSH. Your TSH is released by your anterior pituitary gland. Okay, so after your TSH will go to your thyroid gland, and your thyroid gland will secrete your T3 and your T4, which are your thyroid hormones. Okay, so this would be from your thyroid hormones. Okay, ayan. Okay, all right. Yes, another basic thing that you have to remember would be the terms primary and secondary. Okay, so class, whenever we talk about a primary, this is across the board. Yeah, I mean like this is not just applicable for your abnormal thyroid states, but it is also applicable in the other abnormalities involving other glands. Okay, when we say primary, it is referred to as primary because, okay, because the organ that is defective is the target. Okay, target organ. Naku ha, the organ that is defective is your target organ, not target organ, target gland. Okay, another is your secondary. Yan. When you look at the term secondary, okay, as an endocrine abnormality would always be classified as secondary if, for example, the one that is defective is your anterior pituitary gland. Okay, yes. Actually, before, we used to discuss also tertiary. Okay, when we say tertiary naman, hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism, the one that is defective is your hypothalamus. Okay, ayan. So, ulitin natin ha. Pag primary, ang defective ay yung target gland. Pag secondary, ang defective ay yung anterior pituitary gland. Okay, yes. So, of course, when you encounter the term hypo, yes, hypo would always mean decrease. Right? Yes, decrease. That's hypothyroidism. Hypothyroidism because the main, hindi naman the main, pero the effect would be a decrease in the hormone that is supposed to be produced after, yes, after the cascade. So in the cascade of your TRH, TSH, T3, and T4, what is supposed to be the end result? Diba? Levels of your T3 and T4. Okay, so since this is hypo, since this is hypothyroidism, of course, there will be a decrease in your T3 and T4. Okay, but is it primary? Does it involve this decrease in your thyroid hormones? Does it involve your thyroid gland? Is your thyroid gland the one that is defective? Or does it involve your anterior pituitary gland? Is it your anterior pituitary gland which is defective? So let's see. Okay, ayan. Tingnan natin. All right. So in primary hypothyroidism, the one that is defective is your thyroid gland. Okay, yes, it is your thyroid gland that is defective. It cannot produce T3 and T4 efficiently. Okay, the question is, wait lang, kulang yung nilagay ko. Okay, the one that is defective here is your thyroid gland. Right? The one that is defective is your thyroid gland. Okay? How about your anterior pituitary gland? What can we say about, okay, your anterior pituitary gland? Your anterior pituitary gland works perfectly. All right? And so, what happens in your primary hypothyroidism is that your anterior pituitary gland is merely responding normally to the decrease in your T3 and T4. So that's why if you're going to look at what's the normal response ba of your anterior pituitary gland if your T3 and T4 are decreased, the normal response of your anterior pituitary gland is for it to secrete more TSH. Right? That's a normal response. Because you need to increase your T3 and T4, right? Ayan. So it's a normal response. So that's why if you're going to look at the laboratory results, the thyroid profile of your patient, in primary hypothyroidism, there is a decrease in your T3 and T4. However, there is an increase in your TSH, which is a normal response of a normal anterior pituitary gland. Okay? So let us look naman at your secondary hypothyroidism. So in secondary hypothyroidism, what can we say? Diba? Dito ko na lang ilagay ha. What can we say about your thyroid gland? So take note that your thyroid gland works perfectly. Okay, yes. What is defective is your anterior pituitary gland. Tama? Yes. So, ang mauunang mangyayari dyan, class, there is a defect in your anterior pituitary gland. Thus, it will not be able to properly produce and secrete your TSH. So, that's why your TSH is decreased. Okay, so what will be the normal response of your thyroid gland if your TSH is decreased? Of course, there will also be a decrease in your T3, T4. Okay, so in this case, it's important, class, to know what happens first. What is the predicate, kumbaga, in these conditions. So for your primary hypothyroidism, the predicate is an abnormality in your thyroid gland. So the effect, what would be the effect? The effect would be your anterior pituitary gland will increase TSH production and release. Okay? In contrast, if we are going to look at your secondary hypothyroidism, what is the predicate? The predicate is there is an abnormality in your anterior pituitary gland. And so what will happen is that what will now be the effect? Okay, the effect would be a decrease, diba? There would be a decrease in your T3 and T4. Okay, yan. So may I just continue later? Yeah, so I would have to end it here because I would have to attend to something important. Okay, wait lang po.